Hey everyone, welcome back to Seekers of the Malediction. I'm one of your hosts, Pat, and today we're going to be talking about Tabletop Simulator and how to play Malediction using Tabletop Simulator and some of the tips and tricks to make things more streamlined and easier to play. So without further ado, let's hop into it. So if you are joining the table that someone's already created the server, you're going to first want to click join. You can type in the server name here. As I've done, I've already typed in Malediction. And then you can right click on the server name and hit connect to connect. Sometimes people will put a password in order to connect. So you'll just type in the password and then it should load you right into the lobby. If you are creating your own server, you'll want to hit create, go to multiplayer, name the server. You can set the server type, whether it's open to the public or only your Steam's friends list or by invite only through Steam. You can set a server password. Here I've set mine to 1234. And then the last thing is this max player slider. The official mod only supports 2 players, but you can have additional people join the lobby and spectate. So this is one way to allow them to do so. For this recording, I'm just going to create a single player game to kind of walk you through things. So if you do not have the Malediction mod already downloaded, you're going to want to click on the workshop button and then go to browse. Clicking this will launch the TTS workshop site. I'm going to switch over to Chrome here where I have that same site loaded. So in the search bar, you're going to want to type in Malediction. And then the Malediction official mod by Play Malediction is the one that you're going to want to download. There's going to be a green button in the bottom right corner that you can click to download. And in doing so, that should load it into TTS. You might need to reload TTS in order for it to appear. So at this point, you should be here and you should see the Malediction official mod available to you. You'll click on that and hit load. And then this is going to load everything into TTS for you. It does prompt you asking, is this your first game or a beginner or a veteran? I have not done these, but I'm assuming that this is more teaching you how to actually play Malediction and less more so about how to use TTS to play Malediction. So it's going to be going over the actual rules. I'll be clicking I'm a veteran here. All right, so we see here it's loaded in a board with the 4 buttons in the deployment zones. You're going to want to not click those until you've actually, the player that wins the opportunity to pick their deployment zone, then they'll use those. But dice gets loaded in for each player as well as an echo and mastery marker. We get the relic deck here with, when I hover over it says 11 relics, as well as the individual relic cards that the game has automatically randomized and loaded in. So again, you don't need to put these back in the deck and shuffle the deck and then draw out 4. The game, whenever you load it, is going to completely and randomly pick 4 random relics and lay them out for you. Then we have our 4 husks here, the initiative token and the player's rulebook. Over to the left, we have all the different assets. So these are models or cards that you can use, but there's a quicker way to do that, which is using the deck importer button here. So I'm going to click this, and then it's going to ask me for a TTS code. We'll go over back to our browser, and we'll go to the Cardi.io playmalediction.gg. I am signed in here, but if you're not signed in or you haven't created an account yet, you should still be able to go to other people's decks here, click the icon, and then hit copy TTS code. Click my decks, and you can view your own decks here that you want to use, and do the same thing. So here we'll load in my Ingor Storm deck. I right-clicked copy TTS code. It gives me a confirmation it's been copied to my clipboard. And then we'll switch back to TTS and we'll paste that in and hit import. So now it's bringing in everything that I've saved on the website for my card selections. It brought in my 30 card deck. It brings in my legacy, my seeker. This is my 7 card sideboard. And then this bag, which includes the terrain that I've selected. So just left click rather, and then pull out the terrain one by one. And then here are all the models that I may end up casting and using that are pertain to my deck. So to start the game, each you and your opponent are going to roll a die. So you can do this by hovering over the die and hitting R. And then in order to see better like numbers or your cards and stuff, you can press and hold Alt, and this will kind of magnify or put into focus whatever you're hovering over. So at this point, I'm hovering over the die, and it's showing me that I rolled a 3. If I want to look at the legacy here, I can hold Alt, and it will give me a kind of a better view of the card that I can use to read. So after you've rolled off, then you and your opponent are going to want to place terrain. So one thing to note here is that right up here, it says rotation degrees, it's set to 90. And what this does is when I hit the E or Q button, it's going to rotate whatever I'm hovering on by that many degrees, so 90 degrees here. Since we want a little bit more precision when we're setting our terrain, I'm going to click that once and it will bring it down to 15 degrees. And now when I press Q or E, it will just rotate it 15 degrees, which allows me to better place the terrain that I want into the exact position. So we'll put out the 4 pieces of terrain here per player. Those are mine. My opponent would do the same, alternating the terrain we placed. Also note you need to place your large terrain, then medium, and then you pick 2 out of the 3 smalls and play them essentially in that order. Hovering over it, I'm going to delete that last piece of terrain as well as this bag and my sideboard because we're not going to use those. All right, so at this point we placed terrain. We're going to do Husk placement. So we're going to come over here, and then there's these little dots that you hover over, and it shows you like a red dot. You're going to want to left click these, and doing so makes the number increase. By right clicking, it will decrease, and you'll notice that there's this ring that expands on each of them as we do that. This is showing you the number of inches equal to the numeric value that it is away. So this is really convenient when you're placing Husks because the version of the game that we play, which I'm forgetting the name of right now, it's 4 Husks and no Husk can be within 10 inches of each other. So by doing this, I can grab this and place it here. And then my opponent would go and they know that they have to be outside of this circle when they place their Husk. So maybe they place it like that. I would go again. And then the reason why we don't expand the last one out is because at this point, you don't need to know what's 10 inches away from this. You just need to know where can I place my last remaining ones, which it looks like I could place it here or anywhere over here, probably not down there. So we'll place it right here. Once that is done, you can right click again to drop these all down to 1. I like leaving them at 1 just so it makes it easier to determine when units are attempting to get within 1 inch or nearby them, where they need to be in order to pick those up essentially. So at that point, we can highlight all of these cards here by clicking and dragging. You see them all, they're selected, and then you hit the F key to flip over any card. So those are all flipped over. Those are our starting relics. And then we need to, me and our opponent need to shuffle our decks. To do that, you can hover over it and press the R key, and that will shuffle it. So you can click it a couple of times just to get a nice shuffle. One really it will suffice just because the computer is shuffling it, so it's not like you're actually shuffling. It doesn't simulate like a real shuffle. And then to draw cards, you can hover over the deck again and press any numeric key. So I will press 7, and that will draw me 7 cards. All right. So at this point now, you and your opponent need to do the initial bid. So let's say I'm going to bid this flesh ripper here. One thing you do not want to do is you do not want to drag your card out of your hand and then flip it over with F, because there will be that brief moment of time where your opponent will be able to see your card. So instead, you're going to want to, while it's in your hand, which your hand is down here above your name, cards in this zone your opponent cannot see. So you will not be able to see your opponent's cards. So in order to pull a card face out, just while it's in your hand here, press the F key, flip it over, and then drag it out, and it'll be face down so your opponent can't see it. Do note your hand's down here, but for quick reference, if in case you're at a view that is not by your hand, you can always see your hand down here as well. And by dragging your cursor down here, it'll give you a kind of pop up and give you a better view of your entire hand. Once you and your opponent have revealed cards, hit F to flip over your card. These cards will get banished, which we typically put them over here by the rule book just to differentiate between your banish pile and your discard pile, which I usually put below my deck here. So then this will determine what player gets initiative and what player picks deployment zone. Let's say I won and I want to pick the deployment zone. So this is when I would click the button for which deployment zone I want. So I will want to click this one up here, let's say. So when I click this, it's going to flip the entire board and all the husks so that I don't need to pick up my deck and my models and move it to that side of the board. It's just going to flip everything for me. So there it's done. And now that top right became my bottom left. And it at the same time, it also locked all the terrain down, so I can't accidentally pick this up anymore and move it, which is really convenient. All right, so now my opponent has initiative. He's going to make me deploy first. Ingor starts with 20 echo, so I need to adjust this first. Just follow the tooltip here to increase or decrease echo and mastery. That is right-clicking to lower the number and left-clicking to increase it. So I start at 20. So I'm going to play Ingor, and then I'm going to play a Terric Beast. And just for the sake of this video, let's say this was a second Terric Beast, essentially. So I would play one Terric Beast and Ingor, and then we said that that other card, the Boar, was another Terric Beast. So I typically like to pull out the numbers for how many copies I've played. And the reason why I do that is because I will usually leave the Terric Beast 1 as blank. And then if this is Terric Beast 2, what I'll do is I'll right click on it, come down to the name, and then after the name, I will just type in a 2 and click off. And now when I hover over this card, it's going to show that this is Curse Host Boar 2, but really, you know, Terric Beast 2, which will match with the name of the card. I can actually rename this to Terric Beast. Right? So I think you get my point of how this can be used to kind of tie cards with the models, which will be useful later when you go to activate them. So now at this point in the game, you don't need to really rotate things because you can draw a line of sight anywhere from a model's base for line of sight. So you don't really need to rotate models, you know, for positioning or anything. It doesn't really matter. So I will click up my rotation degrees to 90. And this is really convenient because let's say I'm going to activate Terric Beast 2. I'm going to hit E on the card while hovering over it, and it's going to tap at 90 degrees to show that I've activated this unit and it has been exhausted. Terric Beast can roll 20 inches, so it's just going to run up the board. Oh, a little bit too much. All right, but let's say this Terric Beast is going to try to reach this Husk, but it's not quite sure it can. So one of the things you can do is right click on it and then go to save state. And then you can begin measuring your unit. So here I'm going to, again, left clicking and then dragging the model, and it will automatically start measuring how far I've moved it. So it's 5, it can go another 5 here, and then it can go another 10. And at this point, I'm seeing, oh, I'm short of being able to get that Husk. So you know what? I actually don't want to go there. I can right click on it and hit load state, and then it'll snap it back to where it was previously. Note that if I right click, load state is gone. So if I want to do that again, I need to do save state again to make sure it saves this location again. Anytime you hit load state, you need to do save state again. It's not going to, you can't load state multiple times from one previous save state. Hope that makes sense. And this is completely fine because in this game, pre-measuring is allowed. So you can use proxy bases in real life or pre-measure to see if you can get somewhere. This is just one helpful thing that, you know, makes that a little bit easier to manage rather than, you know, having to pull out proxy bases in TTS. So at this point, we'll run this model, just, you know, plenty of speed. We know it could get it all the way over there. I'm just going to drag it there and say it's good. That's that activation. One thing you will commonly find yourself doing is Ingor has a range of 6. And let's say this Terric Beast is actually my opponent's Terric Beast, and I want to shoot it while at the max distance of 6. So one thing I could do is I could move, right? Let's say I can move to here. He has enough speed to do that. And then I can measure, right? And I'm 5.8, so I can go back 0.2 inches, right? And then I can remeasure. And this is really kind of tedious and annoying. A different way you could do that is by the same way we did the Husk, click the circle, which will increase the range band, and you could move it out to 6. And now you know really easily that, okay, Ingor can move pretty much anywhere on this circle and still be within range of 6 in order to shoot the Terric Beast. All right, so if I move him here, and I measure 6 inches, right? It just makes it a little bit easier to determine how how close you need to be to do stuff. That also is very helpful if you're, again, we did this with the Husk, but if you're wanting to measure how close I need to be to engage something, right? I can expand it out to 1, and then I can see, okay, this will be close enough to engage that Terek beast, right? So really helpful. I almost always just move my range band out to 1 just to at least see what's nearby within 1 inch. Helpful for engaging or things like shield wall or different abilities. Yeah, so that's a really helpful trick. So at this point, everything has activated, and I forgot to spend my echo. 10 plus 2 plus 2 is 14, so I should have 6 left. So I will mark that down. At this point, Ingor will get a Husk, so he's going to take the reliquary. And to draw a card off the deck, you just click quickly and drag off. So I left clicked and then dragged it off quickly, and then I can hit F to flip the card while holding that left click. If you want to lift up an entire deck, so let's say this is my deck, you want to left click and hold, and you'll see the whole deck lift up, and at that point you can now drag it around. This is useful because, let's say something died, right? And there's abilities in the game that allow you to look at the top card of your deck, which means you do not need to reveal it to the opponent. So you can actually right click and then go to search. Don't click on search, but hover over it, and then you'll see 1 through 20. This is how many cards are left in my deck. So I could click on the 1 here, and this is going to look at the top card of my deck when I click on the 1. So we'll click 1, and you can see here it gives a little magnifying glass and a 1 indicator. This tells my opponent I'm only looking at the top card, the first card of my deck. I'm not looking at my entire deck. And I can see that it's a dead at arms. So Ingor's ability lets me look at the top card, and then I can either keep it on the top or put it on the bottom. Let's say I want to put it on the bottom. I'll close that window, and then I'll take that card over. Again, it's the dead at arms. You can see that here. And then to bottom it, I will left click and hold for a second, wait for my deck to pick up, and then move it on top of that card. And now that dead at arms is on the bottom of my deck. I think that pretty much covers it. We covered rolling. Oh, proxy bases. One of the things that I often like to do is if something is a little bit tight here, so let's say I'm not quite sure that this Terek Beast can fit in between this piece of terrain as well as the Terek Beast, instead of trying to like measure it out or using save state to save the state and then measure it, I'll instead just copy the model as a proxy base. Oh, I copied 2 of them. I'll copy the model, and then I'll just use that to kind of place it in here just to see if I have enough room. Oh, it looks like ever so slightly I do, right? And so now we know that this Terek Beast can move through, so I'll just delete that, which is very helpful. The other thing that I just realized, and I did just there in case you didn't notice, is if I left click to pick up a unit, and I realize, you know what, I don't want to pick up this move it, instead of trying to get this down to 0 inches to be where it was, which is actually quite difficult, you can just, while holding it, hit the escape button, and it will automatically put it back to where it was, and then it drops it. So that's really helpful. The other thing, if your units don't look to be measuring correctly, just make sure you're on inches. The TTS also supports here centimeters as well as a grid view. So make sure you're on inches, 2D, auto, edge, and those are the correct settings to be able to play Malediction. So I think that's going to do it. Oh, the end round button. Sorry. So once everything is done, Ingor has taken his relic. We'll move the relic off the table, just put it over here in case he dies and we need to put it back. Make sure one player and only one player clicks this button. You don't want to double click it. Doing so, if you watch my cards here in the bottom left, it's going to untap all my cards and then give me the appropriate amount of echo. So going into round 2, you should get 2 times 2 echo, so we should get 4. And then it should untap everything. So I click that, you see it's untapped my cards, it's giving me 4. Let's go again and say, you know what, we're now at the end of round 2, so it's going to untap my cards, and this time going into round 3 times 2, it should give me 6, so I should go up to 16. It does that as well. So that's just, essentially the basics, I think, for how to play on TTS. Again, every round you draw 2 cards, hover over the deck, hit the 2 button to draw 2. I guess I didn't go over searching, but instead of just looking at the top card, you can left click on search and it will look at the entire deck. So if you have like a Morda's Tutor, Morda says whenever a unit is defeated, an enemy unit is defeated, it can pull out a basic or elite unit. So you can right click, hit search, just find the card you want, pull it out of your deck, show your opponent, and then put it into your hand. By just dragging it to the bottom of the screen, will automatically put it in your hand. And then you can reshuffle your deck with R. So I think that's going to do it. For some of you that are more seasoned in TTS and Malediction, let me know in the comments if I forgot anything, share with the community. Really the premise of this is I've had a couple of players reach out to me saying that they want to get playing. They can't wait for their models anymore through the game found, so they want to start getting games in on TTS, but they're a little intimidated or don't know how to do so. So hopefully this has been helpful. If you guys like our channel, we'd really appreciate it if you like this video and subscribed and share with your friends. Otherwise, I think that's going to do it. Until next time, thank you.